And you've just heard Jasper by the Willow Trio. And I'm joined now by Sophie Rocks, Maya McAdam, and Romeo Weimer, who are the Willow Trio. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, first question, I want someone to give me a potted history of the Willow Trio.
Well, I'll do my best to keep it short, but we've been going a while now. So actually, we first formed in 2020, and our first concert, all the luck in the world, was actually on the 11th of March 2020. So just a couple of days before that COVID lockdown.
Yeah.
But we were actually, in some ways, I think the Willow Trio was the real silver lining of lockdown, because after the first couple months, we were allowed back in the same room to rehearse more. And at that point, I think all of our kind of gigging life was a bit quieter. So it allowed us to work on creative projects a bit more and really put in time that I think, had we been in normal life, so to speak, we maybe wouldn't have had as much time to kind of connect and be playing together regularly. So I think actually that did a lot for Trio. So we kind of started there and worked on firstly an EP of Gaelic music, which is titled The Oyster Catchers, and was very kindly edited by Tasca. You can find that on all your streaming platforms. And from there, we then went on to work on a major kind of multidisciplinary work called The Swan of Salin, which is the Gaelic interpretation or parallel legend of Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake.
Ah, lovely.
Yeah. And what we were able to do was kind of merge that classical sound world with the traditional tales that tell the Gaelic legend and merge them together into a score. And alongside that, we worked with a group of kind of 28 creatives that were ballet dancers and a choreographer and a video team. And we now tour the live score with the film of the ballet behind us.
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, and from there, that was a huge project. And from there, we then decided to kind of take a different route and start working on our own compositions again, rather than that kind of arrangement. And that is kind of where we are today and why we're chatting to you about our new album.
Which is coming out on the 6th of February.
Yes.
Yeah. The bestiary. Now, you are a class-act trio, and I'm guessing there was some people who do not know what the class-act is. Why is it different to the harp? So could someone give me a brief explanation about that?
So the classic is the Scottish harp, and the classic which we play now was kind of a reinvention of the traditional classacks that were found in Scotland. So in the 1900s, they wanted to bring the classic back into the Royal National Mod, and to do this, they looked to the continent at the pedal harps, but also combined it with pictures of traditional classacks to create the classic that we play today. So the classic that we play today is strung in gut or nylon, with maybe 10 metal strings at the bottom. And at the top of each string is a lever which alters the pitch of each string by a semitone. So it's not a chromatic instrument, unlike the pedal harp, which you can play all of the notes and all of the keys. The classics do have some limitations, but that's why playing in a trio is so fun and so interesting. And part of the compositions, specifically thinking about the Mysterious Garden, which is one of Romy's compositions, explores how you can modulate across different across different keys using the three classics.
And so, I mean, you've all got your own musical work that you do. What brought you all together to do it then? Was it just timing and this is the time to work together?
Yeah, I think it was just fun, really. We somehow, just a few months before we came together as a trio, Maya and I were working on other harp trio stuff. And I don't really remember why we decided to do it as a trio. I think it was just because we liked playing in that arrangement, right?
Yeah, so I think our other original trio member said that was really up for it being a trio as opposed to a duo, because there's quite a lot of harp duos, and she was like, think of what we could do as a trio.
Yeah.
But then she left.
And we had to find Sophie.
But I think it was really perfect timing. So I lived down in Manchester for a while and studied down there. And when I moved back up, we'd met up. Actually, you guys had found me on Instagram. I always say that trio is the best thing to come out of social media. And yeah, we met up and just had a chat. And I think we were all quite similar in that we love the harp, but what we also love is being able to explore the potential of the instruments and the different kind of styles that you can explore that don't necessarily align with the perception of the instrument always, or what people expect. And yeah, I think it was that case of just perfect timing, really, for me, where you guys had been playing as a trio, and then there was this time for change, and it just kind of went from there. And I think it is that thing of we all bring our different experiences, and that's what brings us to the projects that we have. And it's really cool to be able to do things that on your own you wouldn't necessarily think of, or you'd get kind of part of the way, and then there's other people to support your idea and kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I was thinking I've heard of harp duos, but I don't think I've heard of another harp trio. So it kind of makes you kind of really stand out. And before we talk about the album more generally, we heard the track Jasper. Can you tell us what that's about?
Oh, he's left now, but Jasper is one of our cats. He's he's a very characterful creature, and I like to imagine him going on all sorts of adventures. This one is kind of him going on a beach holiday of some sort. So yeah, I originally started writing all the little components of it just by myself, and started doing the layers on top of the other instruments. And then last year we actually did a sort of creative residency at a place called the Swallow Theatre.
Mm-hmm.
Smallest theatre in Scotland or
It's
Britain?
incredible.
Yeah.
I think in Britain, please, if you're ever down in kind of Dumfries and Galloway, it's near me.
Yeah.
Go and see Helena and Paul in the Swallow Theatre.
Yeah.
We're celebrating 30 years of the theatre now.
Yeah. That's a really great little spot, but we got to just kind of work on our album and the creative parts of it that week, and we ended up putting in the shaker, which I think sets that tune apart in the album quite a lot. It was originally a little coffee cup with some rice in it.
We still have the coffee cup.
Yeah.
It's a year from that.
Yeah. So yeah, adding a percussive element. It's kind of a fun new thing.
The album as a whole, though, has kind of themes of nature that run through it. Can you talk a bit about the album more generally?
Yeah. I don't think it was on purpose that we did that. While we were in the studio, there came the realization that it had all these sort of animal and nature themes and that it should be the bestiary. I think it just sort of came together. Yeah, I guess I write about the cats a lot. Yeah.
I think it is that thing of like, it does feel like a theme. Whenever I talk about your work, it's like nature, animals, and art are kind of the components. So I think, yeah, it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, I guess it's partially, I don't know how you feel about your parts of it, but for me, because a lot of it was written during that time where we spent so much time indoors, it's just kind of, okay, what's directly in front of me right now? And having that feed into what I'm writing. Yeah.
I wondered about that because it feels nature as a theme that's come through all sorts of arts and books and things recently, and I think partly as a reaction to being locked away for a period of time. And I did wonder if that was something that fed into this album. And from the time frame that you've kind of suggested, I guess that is true.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah.
I think it is one of those things, wasn't it, that period where you really valued the things that you maybe before took for granted. I think that's a huge thing.
Yeah, and it's now a thing that we're going to do right now.
Yeah, and I really love the way that I think you guys have spoken about the album before, where like it is a celebration of like the small things in life in a lot of ways, like that you do, maybe just take for granted, and it's nice to be able to value them in the art you make. Yeah.
So how do you work together? Do you work in the same room, or do you go away and think about tracks or tunes and come back? How does it work?
So I think it often starts with someone bringing a composition or the beginnings of a composition, and then we tend to workshop it together in the same space. And then after playing it together on the 3 class acts, we tend to find, oh, actually that doesn't work quite as well, or we need this little bit here. And then that person then tends to go away and work on it and then bring back another draft.
Yeah.
It was why having that residency at the Swallow Theatre was so helpful. Certainly for me, because I'm a bit of a procrastinator. So after we've done a workshopping of one of my pieces, I tend to forget about it until it's 10 minutes before someone's about to arrive before rehearsal. And then I have to quickly bash open Sibelius and try and cram in about 10 minutes, which is never the best thing. But it was great being able to then have that space. And there was nowhere really within walking distance of the Swallow Theatre. So in the evenings or in the mornings, then I would work on it. And then we could come back and be like, oh yeah, this is much better.
I think the other thing about having those few days where you are in like that kind of residency space together is that you have no other distractions, so your head can stay very much in that space. And it almost, I think, allows you to have more fun or explore things or like get a little deeper than you necessarily would when you're in like a 3-hour rehearsal every couple of weeks or whatever. Like I don't think we would have got to the point of a cup of rice had we not been sitting for like a bit of time and just having fun with each other as well. I think that's the thing. So I think we're quite lucky in that respect. If we do have a lot of fun, it's really nice.
Things like writing workshops, residencies, things like that seem to be happening more and more. At least I'm hearing people who have made their music from, partly from going away and doing these things. And are they as helpful as you suggest there, and to give that kind of space to breathe, I guess, while you're making music?
Yeah, I think. Sorry, yeah.
No, I feel like you have more writing residency stories from other stuff.
Yes. Oh yeah. So I've just been at Song Seeds. So a couple of times this year I've been at Song Seeds, which is like a songwriting residency run by Becky Wallace, and it's about what kind of like mirroring what you were saying about having that space free from distractions, or even just being around so many creative people all trying to create something. I feel like the Swallow Theatre one was slightly different in that at the end of it we had a concert, so we had to feel very focused and we had to get the material done, but we had a lot of the material half done. Whereas at the Song Seeds residencies, yes, there's a concert at the end, but a lot of the material you're allowed to make and then know that it won't go anywhere. So it almost takes the pressure off of having that end result, and instead you can enjoy the process. Whereas I feel like sometimes if you're working away and trying to make something or make a composition or make a song, sometimes if you don't have anything at the end that you're like, this is the song, it can feel a bit like, man, I've just spent 3 hours just doing
It feels more like does it feel more like a job in that sense? That kind of clocking on, or is that too prosaic?
I don't know if it feels like a job for me.
I feel like it may be kind of the opposite to do like a residence or a focused going away thing. I wonder if the strength of it is that everyone's wearing a lot of different hats trying to be a creative artist, and then you only have to wear one hat for however many days you're doing that.
We have a kind of line in our house. My other half's an engineer, so he thinks very like systematically. I've spoken before, and he's like, it's so much easier, Sophie, to write the alphabet in one order, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and write numbers in one order, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, than it is to go A1, B2, C3, da 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 da. And I kind of take that as the way in which to think about when you're doing something creative, is like when you're interspersing it with other work that you do. To get that focus, and it often takes longer and is a little bit more complex. Whereas if you're able to just focus on, let's say, the alphabet, you're gonna reach that flow a lot quicker. And there's more ease to it, and I think that's one of the things it gives. But it's interesting. We have this conversation like every so often in the trio about like what qualifies as work, where does creativity lie in work, and we all kind of have slightly different perspectives on it, which I think is also quite fun because we bring those.
I'm guessing when you go away somewhere to you're talking about being in the Dumfries and Galloway, which is an area I know pretty well, and it's a beautiful area. You don't have to go too far out of Dumfries to discover that, and there can be inspiration from that as well. And I'm talking as someone in a city, so it's sometimes that feels perhaps not quite as inspirational as when you're out. And does that feed into your music? Where you're actually writing the music or making the music?
From a playing perspective, I would say yes, in terms of it allows an ease, but it's back to that similar thing of like your stimulation is different.
Yeah.
In that respect, stimulation impacts your playing and the way in which you approach what you're doing. So yeah, I would think so.
I think the change itself for me kind of flips a little switch. Like sometimes I visit family abroad and I'll still be in a city, but I'll also be feeling really creatively active just because I'm in a different environment.
Yeah, change of environment. That's interesting.
Change is as good as a rest and all.
Yeah.
That's quite nice.
And I really love the cover of the album, the bestiary. It's kind of a medieval theme. Would you say that's fair enough? You're all nodding. So, okay, so who did the album cover?
Us too.
Yeah.
And
Callum.
Yeah.
From
Burnham CD.
He was great.
He put it all together, but we made lino prints of these quirky animals.
Yeah, so some of them are our cats. So the one with the trumpet, that's Jasper.
Yeah, that's him.
And then we just made different characters. Some of them are us, aren't they? So which one was me? Was I the owl going?
Yeah, you made the bird with the big fluffy collar.
Yeah.
There's the fox. He's got a nice classy little scarf and he's playing them around.
Oh, that's you, Sophie.
I love it. Yeah. I appreciate that. As soon as you said fox, I was like, yeah, I'm here.
What was the frog doing? I think he's just dancing.
Yeah, he's like a jester, isn't he? He's got bells on his things.
And then there's the rabbit, which is kind of a direct pull from a medieval manuscript, the rabbit on the harp.
Yeah, they loved harps.
Yeah.
So we kind of, when we realized that it was all about nature and animals, but also a little bit just about the joy of everyday things, and we wanted it to be a really fun album because we had so much fun making it. That I think the album art really reflects that. And then we have all the way at the back of the little animal parade, a little tiny snail.
Yeah, you couldn't make it. He's all the way through on the inside of the...
Because in manuscripts, they loved snails, like giant snails that they had to fight. So we wanted to bring
the countryside.
We wanted to bring in some aspects from medieval manuscripts into our bestiary.
It sounds fantastic. Where can people get the album and where can they find out more about the Willow Trio as well?
So on our brand new designed website, well, the website's not new. It has had a brand new design to it.
Yeah, a slight makeover. So we're on thewillowtrio.co.uk. And we also have a Bandcamp where you can get a physical or digital or both. And then you'll be able to stream the album everywhere as well.
And if you pre-order the album, everyone who pre-orders a CD, we will send them a hand-printed postcard of one of the animals from the bestiary, because we still have all of those lino stamps. So we've got a few people who have already said, oh, I quite like the frog. So
you
can imagine, well worth it. And we're recording this before you do your Celtic Connections gig, which I'm sure was a huge success. But what can people expect from a Willow Trio live show?
Generally, we have a great time on stage, I would say. So unfortunately for me, a bit too much chat rather than...
it's good.
But yeah, for a lot of our gigs, I mean, it's really, I think, when I think about it now, where we are is we have so much fun together that really for us it's a bit of a celebration, and I like to think that comes across as that it's a very fun time where you get to enjoy hearing our mad stories about cats and the music that reflects them.
I do think it's nice that every piece has a little story behind it, so you hear really about the background of them in a way you won't if you're just hitting play on the list.
And I think one of the things that's particularly nice about this project is the Swan of Salin was like quite a huge undertaking, and the piece of work is a little bit darker in a lot of ways. Like the story is quite dark and things, and you'll go to that and you'll get a completely different impression from this. So it's quite nice that way that we've gone in a different direction. And for us, we can have like the Swan of Salin, in which we do this type of work and feel this way and emote in a certain way, and then we have this, which does feel quite joyful and a celebration in that respect. So it really depends what you come to see, what you can expect.
Which version of you're doing, yeah.
I will say, just on the note of our album coming out on the 6th, is we're playing at Bears Den Bowling Club on the 8th of February for an afternoon.
All right, excellent.
So if anyone would like to come along, that's where we'll be playing our first post-album release.
And is there any other live gigs lined up? We should just let people know if there is.
I think that's it for now, and we'll try and work on a tour. I think we're all quite busy this half of the year, so it's putting something together for autumn, hopefully.
And this just might be my perception, but it does seem to me over the last few years, the harp has been pretty much everywhere. There's been a lot of great harp music kind of out there. Would you agree with that? I mean, you guys are part of the reason for that, but it does seem to be that.
Nice, isn't it?
Celebration of the instrument these days. I mean, I don't know what's happened, but it's just great.
It is.
Yeah.
And we're about to hear another track, Ink Spills, in a moment. Is there a story behind that?
Yeah, so I started making this during one of my art and music phases, and I was working with one of my friends who is a visual artist called Emma Hastrianto, and we'd have this sort of back and forth project where she would send me a sketch of something she's done in her book, and I would make a little tune inspired by it and send it back to her, and then she'd make new work inspired back and forth. So Ink Spills is kind of a collection of all those little bits.
That sounds lovely. Well, we're going to hear that right now, but before we do, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me, and all the very best with the album and the gigs as well.
Thank you for having us.
Very great to talk to you.
And this is the Willow Trio and Ink Spills.